This is Louie Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag. Leave your message after the tone.
Hey, Louie, it's Elliott and Henderson. Can't wait to tell you about
rolling down the back road, truth riding with the dust, talking agriculture policy with people you can trust. From the field to the Capitol, we're bringing it down. Real talk, real issues from a real farm town. Every hour's rush hour when the work won't wait, so we're cutting through the noise and setting things straight.
What's your rush today, Elliott?
Welcome, Rush Hour Ag listeners. I'm your host, Louie Zumbaugh, for today's exciting episode of Rush Hour Ag, along with my co-host, Elliott Henderson. Elliott, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, I think, after last week's episode, listeners are probably like, maybe their blood has either come to a simmer and they can come back in here and get some more of this action. But I'm excited, and I know I can't wait for the phone calls that we're going to get from this one. But yeah, man, let's get back into it. I think this time we can talk about some solutions, and I think you got ideas for solutions, and then you got some more you want to bring up too with problems of things. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, so we're back this week with Ryan Kelly again. And we were talking about different things in ag, and one thing I wanted to bring up was I believe it's income tax or tax. What do you call it? Section 180. And that's where you can deduct your fertilizer from farms that you bought like 10 to 15 years ago. And I just don't know what to think about that. I know a lot of people that are doing it, looking into doing it. But if you want to drive the price of land up, if you have a tax situation and you're not a farmer, but you're going to buy some ground and you can do this, what do you think of that? And where's that coming to this play?
Well, it's one more thing to drive up the price of ag land.
Yeah, wall out the guy that needs to be transitioning in. That's what I see it. Right. Another thing, another roadblock.
Yeah, we're going to need more young farmers, period. That's why I'm saying we need to get the price of land down, because without that, there's too many barriers to entry. And like I had brought up, we talked about the cattle thing. With currently the U.S., our president has made it a point to say we don't have enough cattle in this country, enough guys growing beef. Well, the 80-year-old guy doesn't want to grow cattle anymore. He wants to do corn and beans and hire the work done, Row crops has made that. Well, especially like around our area, and I'm sure around here too, it used to be you could buy some cheap ground that was maybe not good row crop ground, some old pasture or something.
Yeah, or wet ground or something, Yeah.
So a young guy could buy that, run some cattle, then he could work his way into buying some row crop ground. Well, now that stuff brings as much or more than the tillable land between hunters or just people that need 1031 spot to park money. I mean, I know an auctioneer that has a list of guys. If a farm comes for sale, he calls them because they've got a developer just waiting.
So what you're talking about, Ryan, though, is like, are we about to be okay with picking winners and losers?
Well, that's what we're doing.
We're already doing that now, I think, with, people who have deep pockets are going to be the people that are chosen to take advantage of these programs.
Yeah.
So if there's a Section 180, it's going to be the guy, cash is king, and, he who with the cash makes the rules. But we pick winners and losers all the time in this system with policy. I think it's time to get serious about make policy that
it's not only policy. Ryan, you hit something that's exactly right, but I don't care. I don't care if it's your local co-op, your farm management company, or in your case, your auctioneer. Yeah, it's partly, why look for a new customer when I have this one here? I know they can do it. I know they'll do it. I don't have to worry about how it's going to get done because I already know him. And it's just easy to go back to the same person, or they probably got 5 or 6. And I'm not so sure that co-ops or businesses like that, they're not all co-ops. Some of them are privately owned. Nutrient's privately owned. It's not a co-op, but I'm not so sure that they don't kind of pick out, well, I'm going to do business with these people. You do business with those, and you do business with those over there. Because it seems to me in my neck of the woods, we're all doing business with the same people we've done business with a lot of years. But if I do go price around, they don't seem to be competitive. Yet I know that my neighbor's not paying a lot more for that fertilizer than I am where I'm buying it. It's just where he's buying it has chose to sell it to him at a lesser price. I think they somewhat work that out, kind of who's going to work with who. I can't prove it, but I feel that way.
Well, the consolidation has made it so that heck, you think you have two co-ops competing against each other, and then you open the mail one day and there's a letter where they're merging.
Yeah.
So were they ever really competing against each other? Probably not.
No, the merge part gets is comical to me because it always seems like mergers. It's usually because one of them's failing, and so I don't know how you can word that as a merger when one's failing, so the other one takes it over. Other than the fact that they're kind of taking advantage of their people that have the stock in it, the farmers, because instead of buying it and paying out stock dividend, we're just going to merge. I mean, come on.
I've known some old farmers that always did business with co-ops. Like I buy my chemical from an independent. It's cheaper, but there were old farmers I know that were, very loyal to the co-op. We do all our business with the co-op no matter what, because that's our co-op. And a lot of those guys lost all that equity.
Sure.
It's stolen from them, or they kept moving the goalposts. They said, when you're 64 years old, you can pull your equity out. And then it was, now you got to be 73. And then before you know it, they're like, well, when you're 112, you can get all your equity back. Like they're doing the co-op thing, and co-ops to me are part of the solution. They're not just part of the problem.
But they've getting abused too. It's another one of the stories of the tragedy of the commons,
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a difference in co-ops. I do business at a co-op that I enjoy doing business there. They're a good co-op. I think they have 4 sites, probably. Most of them are right by each other. I'm not going to mention their name just because I don't want to, get any good mail, bad mail. It doesn't matter. But they're a good co-op. Unlike the co-ops that maybe, let's fly the board of directors down to Florida to go to our mansion and do whatever. I'm not going to say which one that is either. But I think there's a big difference in co-ops when you're talking about how they operate and what their function is and whether they're truly helping farmers or not.
So we've identified a handful of things here. 1031, subsidized crop insurance programs, direct payments, this Section 180. Let's try to get into some of the things that you guys have heard discussed as possible solutions or ideas to solve some of this stuff.
Well, I think we start first off with the 1031 stuff. Just to be real simple, like-kind exchange. You sell land back, you buy similar land back, and I think it should be a ratio on the acres. Like you can't sell 20 square feet and buy 40 acres of farmland back.
Sure.
Because that's not fair. And if you're going to be in the 1031 exchange program, that's fine. As long as it's ag land, you can go business to business, whatever. But if you're in the ag land, you got to be an owner operator.
So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but don't we already have those rules and they're just not getting enforced?
I don't know, because I see it.
It's supposed to be like kind, right?
That's what I thought.
But I think like kind gets abused. That's a good word, or exaggerated. If I'm renting out my ground, so it's a rental, can I like kind sell it and like kind buy a vacation rental in Florida? I'm going to rent that out too when I'm not there.
People do that.
I realize that, and that's what I'm trying to say. But they're doing it. They're both rentals. So when you say like kind, you need to, like most things, people write a law, and instead of thinking about what that's going to create, it sounded good at the time. Rental sounds good, but the devil's always in the details. And no matter what you do, there's always somebody looking how to get around it, and that's just how life is. But I think this is a place where we can probably all three agree that needs to be changed and tightened up.
100%. Yep. I think you could start with that.
Go to the crop subsidy program, subsidized crop insurance. That's like a really ugly one that just is raging its ugly head at everybody right now.
Well, that crappy pasture ground with the trees on it that used to be cheap ground for that young guy to buy is now as valuable as anything because they're going to knock the trees down. They're going to plow through the hill, and they could insure it the same as they could anything. Like if you buy a minivan and I buy a new Corvette, mid-engine Corvette, we shouldn't have the same insurance premium.
But the argument to that today is that, well, that's what your APH is.
Yeah, but when you say especially like these investors buying land, that land is out of your section that you're currently in, or your enterprise. Well, then starts over again, or you spin that off to another entity in your operation. You milk the APH out of this farm, and then the next entity runs that into the ground. So you're propping up these values with crop insurance. And I think, like I said, if you buy a minivan or a Hellcat, they should not be the same premium, right? Because there's more risk for injury and death with the Hellcat than there is the minivan. So the poorer ground, and that sticks with it. It's not like you could just say, well, then when the next guy gets it, that you reset the clock on that ground when it transfers to the next operator. Where when you sell the Hellcat and I buy the Hellcat, it's not like, well, now I get the minivan insurance rate. The rate on that Hellcat stays with it because no matter what. So if you're going to run this poorer ground, it should cost you more to insure it, but it really doesn't.
I like the idea that I'd heard presented here in the last couple of weeks about limiting a lifetime maximum amount that you could draw on a claim. And to me, like that would limit the appetite to want to go out and rent these acres that are marginal. Because you don't want to jeopardize insurance in 2 years or 10 years. You want it for your lifetime, so you'll be a better steward of your risk tolerance. And I thought that was a cool. I don't know if you follow that, Louie. Have you seen much of that?
Well, I hadn't seen it. I follow what you're saying to a certain extent, except for I will make the case that you're talking about two different things. Marginal ground in your area. So I have some ground that maybe was marginal. It's a lot more marginal 20 years ago before we got all the genetics, just like I was talking about down in northern Missouri, southern Iowa. That ground can now grow corn. I know in southern Iowa farmers grew better crop than I did last year because I had big wind come through our property. But so I think you got marginal ground in an area, and then you have marginal areas like the Dakotas going clear up north. I think there's a difference there.
But maybe, but in both cases, I think that type of a practice would lower the rent that gets paid in both areas.
100%.
I personally, instead of this is almost going to sound socialist a little bit, and I wouldn't like to be called that, but maybe the farm programs ought to go to so many acres, and that's it. You can farm as many as you want, but our farm programs, our subsidies for crop insurance or whatever, they're going to go to every producer for X amount of acres. And after that, you're on your own. And
I felt like that conversation has came up and it just gets so emotional with people.
Well, that's one of the things I've been hammering on social media is if you want to be a big farmer, because I got accused of being anti-big farmer.
Sure.
And I go, I'm not anti-big farmer. I'm very pro-small farmer. But the point of the farm programs is you can be as big as you want, but don't manipulate the farm programs to get big, because the whole point of the farm programs was to keep people, New Deal programs, and everything, to keep people in rural America, because they saw the benefit of keeping people in rural America and infrastructure in rural America. So the idea of these farm programs was to support these small farms to keep rural America healthy. When you're eliminating them all, like I read an article out in Western Kansas. They're like, they can't maintain the roads anymore because there used to be how many farmers in this township, and now there's like one. And he's like, well, why do I got to maintain all these roads? Everybody should be. But they're like, well, there's no tax base left because obviously your building site is going to be taxed at a higher rate than your than your farmland. So these bulldoze down all the building sites. Nobody lives there. There's no tax base to keep any of this stuff up. So when you're using the farm programs to get too big, that's an abuse of the system. And you got to be careful with the acres cap, because obviously Central Illinois farmer, or a farmer in my area, we tend to be smaller acres up there because of field size
and productivity. You know, you go to the Kansas and they might need 500 acres to have the same level of margin or profitability that the guy that's got 100 acres in Iowa has or something.
Yeah. I mean, you get eastern Montana. It's like, you know, a 1,000-acre farmer around us is still doing fairly well.
I mean, for what you just brought up, Louie, I'm glad you brought it up, because this is what people have thought as a solution for a long time. And it's possibly a solution, but I keep coming back to dollars. Everybody deals in dollars and everybody's an individual. So if you limited it to dollars and individuals, you kind of take all that emotion out of it, I guess. I don't know.
That just makes socialism all that more if you're going to guarantee a dollar amount.
We already have payment limits on things already.
Well, I don't think we have many limits. I think the limits are sidestepped and gone around, and
they are now. But I mean, the foundation of farm policy has been based on limits.
Well, and I think in this day and age, we've got data. They know our planted acres just from what's going on with our GPS and our equipment and everything else, right? They know, they got satellite data, they got GPS stuff. So
your crop insurance,
right? So you got to crack down on this. So you got the BTO here running all this ground. Well, his son, his nephew, his son-in-law, his daughter, his wife, they all run this percentage of ground. I think we have enough data. It's like, okay, that's fine. You want these programs on all that stuff. We're going to have to see evidence. You're going to have to, you know, if you're farming, kind of make rules.
Well, we have these rules right now. We have, I think it's the 902 or the 1078 at the FSA office. It says that, you know, there's 5 you've got to be the primary laborer. You've got to have the equipment. You got to have the capital invested in the crop. You've got to do the day-to-day work. You've got to possess the land is one thing. You know, you sign it, you either rent it or you own it. I mean, we have those, but when those counties have a claim of somebody bucking the system or fraudulently do it, they push it up. Well, then the next level pushes it up, and nobody wants to be accountable to this. So the corruption it's like the Somali daycare just continues to happen.
Well, or how about this? The EBT cards versus the old-fashioned food stamps, right? Call me socialist on this or not, I don't care, but I don't see any reason why anybody in our country should ever go hungry. We have plenty in this country, right? But going hungry doesn't mean here's a debit card, do whatever you want. The old school food stamps, you can buy, here's ground beef for you, here's flour, here's butter, etc. Great idea. Let's feed these people. The idea of the EBT card was, wait a minute, this could be abused. And I think the same thing is happening with these farm programs, where it's like, okay, you need these farm programs. That's fine. But you're going to have to kind of put your hat in your hands and be a little bit, there's nothing wrong with a little shame, right? Because we've made it too easy. So it's like, you feel you need the farm programs? That's fine. But you're going to have your hat in your hand, kind of with a little bit of shame in your eyes as you're getting this farm program. We've normalized this. And now it's just become another income stream. And let's face it, the big, beautiful bill, that's going to raise reference prices, right? So the LDPs will be $4 corn, right? Or whatever it's going to be. So you're going to have in 2 years, guys will be like, or 3 years there, or if we made E15 and another trade deal or anything, you'd just have guys in 2 years going, the corn's down to $8.
Farm in the system.
Yep. I can't make no money on this $8 corn. So we need more.
We just had this conversation yesterday. A friend of mine said, wasn't too long ago, we said if we had $4 corn and $10 beans, we'd have it made. And we've got $4 corn and $10 beans.
Yeah.
And everything's just outpaced it. But we're not going to solve this problem today. And I want to get this out before our show ends today. I know you're an old ag tractor guy. So if you could have one tractor well, maybe 2. You could have 2 tractors, anything you really wanted, restored and put on your farm tomorrow. What would they be? Elliott, you go first.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I know someday I spent a lot of hours in a 4450, and I think someday I'd like to just have a 4450. But yeah, I'll just go with the 4450. I'll stay.
Okay. All right. We'll let you buy with one just because.
Well,
Go ahead, Brian.
this question's too
Mechanical front. It's got to be mechanical front.
this question's too complicated because what are the do I still have my other tractors to farm with? Is this just a toy, or am I farming with it? Because I mean, if we're just
Let's make the rules up.
well, not yet. Well, it's like the farm program. We're going to bend the rules as we go. These are just tractors that you could just have 2 tractors dropped on your farm, and you just got to have them. What would they be? You can use it or you can not.
yeah,
use it.
if it's, I love all the 44s from the 50, the 40, the 50, the 55. Those
You
are
bet. Best tractor John Deere made.
yeah. I will say though, like I've said this before and I've said it again, like if everything went to hell, right? And I'm broke and I got to start over, the one tractor I'm keeping that can do anything would be like my 8200. They were the big tractor that could do the big jobs, but they were small and maneuverable enough. They could do the little work.
Yep.
You know, and they'll go through hell and back. But my, like I say all the time, my favorite tractor, I got the nicest 4440 I've ever seen. I own and love that tractor, but hell or high water, the 8200 is the one that will do
That's a good point.
anything. I got an 8225R, which that's the baby 8R, but 8130 with an R series cab is all that tractor is. That thing can't do anything that the 8200 can do. You know what I mean? So to me, the 40s, the 44, well, 4320, 4430, 4440, 4450, 4455 were the epitome of tractor because, especially to a dairy guy, because they had big horsepower and both PTOs. So it could do anything on the farm. But I'm not a 7800 or 7810 guy because once they went to the 8000, they made both PTOs available. They had better visibility and better maneuverability. So, that in reality, there's 2 different things. There's the nostalgia feel, or there's the one that can get anything done. And the tractor that'll always get it done for me, give me an 8000.
Yeah.
Any day.
Good choice. What about you, Louie?
Okay. Well, I'd go with a 7488 2+2. I think they only made just a handful of them, and there's only a couple in existence.
Did you ever drive one of those?
I spent some time in a 2+.
I owned a 6588. I had it during 1993 with all the floods and all the water. That thing would walk on water. So I'd have one of them. And I'd probably also go with I don't know. I actually have a 1992 4455, so I'm not going to include that. I'd probably have a Steiger of some sort just to have the old pea color, green color Steiger around for nostalgia's sake.
I just put up for the Acres TV thing we're on for Ag PhD. I just shot a video that went up this week. 2 brothers in Wisconsin down by Camp Douglas that they've got a Steiger Tiger ST450, one of 28, I think 28 total that were built with the 3408 Caterpillar. So it's the big frame. There was the V8 Cat that was 1,091 cubic inches, 3,000 actual hours on it. The thing is just immaculate. The drawbar's never done anything. It got a cracked tile plow put on it when it was brand new, and it's just lived a sheltered life, putting in a little bit of tile for 3,000 actual hours on it. And as far as Steigers go, it'd
be a cherry machine then.
Yeah. So but like other color tractors, like if you just get into collectors, like if it's like, well, give me this tractor and I'll sell it, then I could buy 5 of these other ones. You could get into some of the oddball stuff, but like open stations, there's some really rare open station stuff. But if you're gonna farm with it, there's a reason everybody put a sound guard cab on it, because sitting out on an open station suck compared to your sound guard, right? So,
well, the 2 tractors the tractors built before their time were built by Oliver. And if you go back and look at the Olivers, they had electric over hydraulics, they had mechanical front, they had a pretty decent cab back in the day. I'm talking about the 1800s, 1850s back in there. But that H transmission's been around since what, the 60?
Oh,
Inline six engines too. I mean,
well, I would say the 90s tractor, they'll argue about the resale of the Magnum, the boxcar Magnum, or the 8000s or the 60 series. If you look at new price versus value today, the best residual on that was that white workhorse, the very last of the white, the Charles City Oliver white. For what they cost new, they were like 25% less than you would have bought a Magnum or a Deere for at the time.
I saw one go through town here the other day when I was at the truck stop, and they were pulling on a gooseneck, and it had a cat like V8 in it.
That wouldn't have been a workhorse. That would have been a
I guess
2180.
Is the workhorse like the one that had the blue glass tint? Like the tint in the windows inside the cab, or like had a bluish.
Yeah, they actually had a draft horse on the side that said workhorse.
Okay.
Yours are too new, Elliott. Yours were after who bought them out? Fiat?
No, so they got bought by Allied. Well, Alice bought Deutz bought Alice, but White was bought by Allied in the mid 80s, and that's when they put the Cummins in them, and that's the last of them built in Charles City.
Right, but that tractor cab he's talking about kind of had it come to a square. I know what he's talking about, but
it's like they caulked the corners together on that cab.
Yeah, that's not the ones that Ryan's talking about. He's talking about the two classics that were true Oliver Heritage whites.
Yep. Okay. They put Cummins in them at the end, and then Agco bought them in, I want to say 91 or 92. And then they made the workhorse for like another year with just a little Agco emblem on them. And then they came out with that 6100 series and the Agco Alice. It was.
You just added $10,000 to somebody's tractor sitting in.
Those tractors are beloved. They really are.
Yeah. I had a 140 workhorse for a while. It was a good tractor. I liked it. Yeah, but I've had about everything you can get. So I'm not
in my shed. There's a couple red ones in my shed and green ones. There's 856 custom that was the first tractor I bought on my own to go farming with. And then I got a 1456 that's my elderly neighbors that I've been trying to buy from, but he won't sell it. He's just like, you just use it. Just use it. So I got a 1456 there, which those are a cool tractor, 1456, and pretty rare.
Well, Ryan, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. We've kind of ate up our time frame, but it was great talking to you. I enjoyed both topics, but I enjoy old iron, and I'd like to have you back talk about that someday, and maybe we'll get the world's problems solved. So, Elliott, any final words?
For having me.
Any final words, Elliott?
No, thanks for coming, Ryan. This was a very important topic to bring up, and we got to talk a little bit of old iron too.
Yep. There you go. All right. Well, welcome back next time, and hope all the Rush Hour listeners enjoyed it, and hope to see you back next week. Thank you.